Toyota officially says you can go 10,000 miles between oil changes. The dealers repeat it. The sticker on your windshield confirms it, and millions of Toyota owners follow it without question. But here's what nobody is telling you. That 10,000-mile interval was designed around a perfect driver, in a perfect climate, on a perfect road. And almost nobody drives that way. The result is a slow, invisible form of engine destruction that does not show up as a warning light. It does not make a dramatic noise. It just quietly costs you 50,000, 80,000, sometimes 100,000 miles off your engine's life. And by the time you feel it, the damage is already done. After years of watching Toyota engines come apart on the bench, the same pattern keeps appearing. Owners who followed the 10,000-mile schedule, owners who used good oil, owners who did everything the manual said, and they still ended up with sludge-choked passages, worn cam journals, and timing chains rattling themselves to death. So let's talk about the truth behind that number, what it actually does to your engine, and what Toyota is not putting in the brochure. The 10,000-mile interval was not built for you. Toyota's extended oil change interval is based on the severe versus normal driving classification. This is where most owners make a critical mistake. They assume normal means average, but normal does not mean average. In Toyota's own maintenance documentation, normal driving means consistent highway speeds, minimal idling, low humidity, mild temperatures, and trips exceeding 10 miles regularly. Under those conditions, the oil heats up fully, burns off moisture, and holds its protective film for longer distances. Severe driving, which Toyota defines as stop-and-go traffic, trips under 10 miles, dusty roads, towing, extreme heat, extreme cold, or frequent idling, destroys oil chemistry in a fraction of the distance. Severe, by Toyota's own definition, describes how the majority of American drivers actually use their vehicles. Think commuters idling in traffic every morning, parents running short errands, trucks pulling trailers on weekends, and contractors driving through dust and gravel. For those drivers, Toyota's own maintenance guide recommends 5,000-mile oil change intervals, not 10,000. That recommendation is buried in Section 7 of most Toyota owners' manuals. Past the pages, nobody reads. If your driving involves any of those severe conditions and you are stretching to 10,000 miles, your engine is paying for it. What actually happens inside the engine at mile 7,000 oil does not just get dirty, it chemically breaks down. Understanding what happens to Toyota oil chemistry past 5,000 miles explains why so many 2ARFE and 2GRFE engines found in the Camry, RAV4, and Highlander come apart with sludge that looks like tar, despite receiving regular oil changes on the extended schedule. Fresh synthetic oil contains a full package of additives, antioxidants to prevent oxidation, detergents to suspend carbon and combustion byproducts, anti-wear compounds that bond directly to metal surfaces, and viscosity improvers that keep the oil film stable across temperature ranges. These additives do not last indefinitely. They deplete. By mile 5,000 to 6,000 under real-world driving, antioxidant reserves in most synthetic oils begin dropping significantly. The oil starts oxidizing, which means it thickens. Thicker oil moves slower through narrow oil passages, like the variable valve timing oil, control solenoid passages, and the small journals feeding the camshaft. Reduced flow means metal contact starts increasing in areas that should never touch. Between mile 6,000 and 8,000, detergent depletion allows combustion byproducts to begin bonding to surfaces rather than staying suspended in the oil. This is how sludge starts. Not from a single bad oil change, but from allowing depleted oil to stay in the engine past its ability to keep things clean. By mile 9,000 to 10,000 under city driving conditions, the oil in many Toyota engines is a thick, acid-laden mixture that is actively damaging the surfaces it is supposed to protect. The protective additive film has collapsed. Metal-to-metal contact increases on cam lobes, timing chain guides, and connecting rod bearings. And none of this creates a warning light. Your Toyota just keeps running, a little rougher, a little louder, wearing a little faster with every cold start. The cold start problem. Nobody talks about. Every single time you start a Toyota engine, there is a window of approximately 10 to 20 seconds where oil pressure is building and oil is still traveling from the pan through the pump and up to the top of the engine. During that window, cam lobes, rocker arms, and valve train components are running metal on metal. Fresh, low-viscosity synthetic oil fills those passages quickly. It flows fast, it pressurizes quickly, and that dry window is short. Old, oxidized oil that has been sitting in the engine for 9,000 miles behaves differently. It flows slower at cold temperatures. It takes longer to fill the variable valve timing system oil passages that control cam phasing on the intake and exhaust camshafts. And it takes longer to prime the hydraulic timing chain tensioner that keeps your timing chain tight during startup. Every cold start at 9,000 miles is harder on your Toyota than a cold start at 3,000 miles. That is not a theory. That is basic fluid dynamics applied to engine oil. Multiply that across years of driving, and you start to understand why engines with consistent 5,000-mile oil change intervals show lower wear metals in oil analysis compared to engines on the extended schedule. Toyota's variable valve timing with intelligence system called VVTi and the expanded version VVTiE on newer engines is one of the most oil-sensitive systems in your engine. The VVT actuator sits on the end of the camshaft and uses pressurized oil to rotate the cam position and alter valve timing. This is what gives modern Toyota engines their combination of power and fuel economy. The oil passages that feed that actuator are narrow by design. They have to be, because the system is working with precision tolerances that allow precise cam phasing. When oil is fresh and clean, it flows freely through those passages, and the actuator responds instantly. When oil is thick, oxidized, or contaminated with sludge deposits, those passages begin restricting. A partially restricted VVT passage does not cause instant failure. It causes the actuator to respond slowly. You feel this as a brief rough idle on cold starts, an occasional rattle from the front of the engine in the first few seconds of startup, or a slight hesitation under load. Most owners dismiss these as normal, and they are normal for an engine that is slowly accumulating damage. Toyota technical service bulletins, issued to dealerships and not widely publicized to owners, have repeatedly addressed timing-related complaints on high-mileage Camry and RAV4 engines that trace back to VVT actuator contamination from degraded oil. The fix is always the same: flush and replace with fresh oil. But the damage to the actuator sprocket and the oil control valve that feeds it is often already done. What sludge actually looks like and where it hides. Engine sludge in a Toyota does not look like mud. In its early stages, it looks like a brown, slightly thick coating on the inside of the valve cover. You can see it if you remove the oil filler cap, the large plastic cap on top of the engine that you unscrew when adding oil, and look inside with a flashlight. A healthy engine looks wet and golden. A sludge-prone engine shows thick, dark brown deposits coating the underside of the valve cover and the tops of the cylinder head components. As sludge progresses, it builds up around the oil strainer, the mesh screen at the bottom of the oil pan that feeds the oil pump. A partially blocked strainer reduces oil pump efficiency, and that lowers system pressure. Lower pressure means the first components to suffer are the ones farthest from the pump, the cam journals and rocker arms at the top of the engine. The oil pump pickup tube screen, a small mesh cylinder attached to the bottom of the pump inside the oil pan, is the last line of defense before oil starvation. When that screen clogs, and it does clog in neglected engines, oil pressure drops dramatically. The first sign is often a brief low oil pressure warning at idle, followed rapidly by a lifter tick that turns into a rod knock, and then engine failure. That entire failure sequence, from a healthy engine to internal damage, can take as few as 30,000 miles when an engine is regularly pushed to 10,000-mile oil change intervals under city driving conditions. The filter tells the story before the engine does. One thing that separates an informed Toyota owner from everyone else is what they do with the old oil filter. Most people just throw it away. But if you cut open a used Toyota oil filter after a 10,000-mile interval and compare it to one pulled at 5,000 miles, the difference is visible to the naked eye. The filter media inside a 5,000-mile filter shows consistent light contamination throughout the pleated paper element. The oil coming through it is darkened but still fluid. A filter pulled at 10,000 miles, especially from a Toyota driven in stop-and-go conditions, often shows concentrated contamination in the center pleats. You will see signs of bypass activity, where the filter became so restricted that the bypass valve opened and allowed unfiltered oil to pass through the engine. The oil will have thickened noticeably, even when warm. When the oil filter bypass valve opens because the filter is too restricted to flow efficiently, your engine is running on completely unfiltered oil. Every piece of combustion carbon, every metallic wear particle, every piece of debris that the filter was supposed to catch goes straight to your bearings, your cam lobes, and your timing components. You get zero indication that this is happening. There is no warning light for bypass activity. What to actually do with your Toyota? The answer is not complicated. It does not require expensive additives or dealer-only products. If your Toyota driving involves regular city commuting, short trips, towing, dusty roads, or extreme temperatures, change your oil at 5,000 miles. Not because Toyota says you have to, because your oil's additive package is depleted. Your engine is beginning to accumulate deposits, and the cost of an extra oil change per year is a fraction of a % of what engine repairs cost. Use a full synthetic oil that meets Toyota's specifications. The specification is printed directly on the oil filler cap on most Toyota engines. For most modern Toyotas, that means an oil meeting the ILS ACGF6 standard in the correct viscosity your engine requires, typically 0W20 for newer 4-cylinder engines and 5W30 for many V6 applications. Do not go by the label on the front of the bottle. Look for the specification code on the back. Replace the oil drain plug washer every single time. Toyota drain plug crush washers are designed to be single-use components. Reusing them allows a slow seep of oil from the drain plug area that often does not drip on the ground because it burns off on the exhaust. You lose oil quietly, pressure drops quietly, and bearings wear quietly. Check your actual oil level between changes. Pull the oil dipstick, located on the driver's side of the engine, on most Toyota 4-cylinder engines and marked with an orange or yellow handle every 1,000 miles or once a month, whichever comes first. Toyota engines, particularly the 2GR FE V6, are known to consume a small amount of oil between changes, and discovering you are a quart low at 8,000 miles of a planned 10,000-mile interval is the kind of discovery that saves engines. And the next time you hear that 10,000 miles is the new normal, remember what that interval was built around. A driver Toyota never actually described when they were selling you the car. Your engine's job is to last 200,000 miles. Your job is to let it. If you are enjoying this content, consider watching the next video where I break down the exact habits that separate Toyotas that reach 300,000 miles from the ones that do not make it past 150.